my wife and I have been planning a trip to Hawaii for quite a while, and finally we decided to do it this year. So when we were planning the trip, I was like, I want to get a cool car. So we went over multiple different options. We were thinking maybe there are tons of Ford Mustangs for rent here. There are Jeep Wranglers, obviously. So we use this app called Turo. There's a ton of YouTube car people who talk about the app a lot. So I downloaded it. You get $25 off if you use a referral code, and I'll try to put one down in the description below for me. And we rented the car, the Tesla Model 3. We picked the car up when the owner dropped it off at the airport the day we arrived. So we had a 10-minute drive, and he kind of went over the different functions of the car, and a lot of it is the same as our BMW i3 or Chevy Volt. The regenerative braking, how to charge, stuff like that. The big difference is how to get in and out, how to start it using a valet key. Since I do not own the car, I do not have the app installed on my phone. So he went over that, a little bit as to how to start it, stop it, how to lock it whenever you're done using it. Stuff like that on a little 10-minute drive. So the next day we were excited to go out and explore Hawaii and drive the Model 3. So we did a south loop around Oahu, leaving from Waikiki. It turned out it was raining as we started the trip, so we did not get to stop and really get out too much. We did stop at the Honolulu Aquarium. It's an inside thing of something we could go do while it was raining. We did put a good probably 40-50 miles on the car that day, and got to play around with the autopilot a little bit. It was rainy and stop and go traffic, so initial impressions were pretty good. The next day we drove out to Paradise Cove for a luau. That was the one that we had heard was going to be kind of one of the better ones. So we drove out there. It was a pretty good drive. It is on the western part of the island. There was a lot of highway driving time, so we really got to check out the autopilot and whenever you signal for it to change lane to lane. So that was pretty exciting. And overall the impressions of the autopilot was if the lanes were clearly marked, then it had no issues following the lines. The issue we'd run into is Hawaii has some pretty terribly marked roads. So in those, autopilot would kick off, or it would sometimes get confused. But with clearly marked roads, so something with interstate driving in the continental United States, I think this would be a pretty awesome feature to have on a car. One interesting thing that did happen is while we were waiting to go into the luau, we were trying to find the Easter eggs that were on the screen. So we did that, and then the screen just locked up. So I had to break up my phone. I did a Google search as to how to reset it. And if you hold these two knobs here on the steering wheel down for 10 seconds, it'll reboot. I can only imagine how exciting that would have been if we were driving. But overall, it rebooted and everything started working fine after that. So one thing of note here is there's not a lot of public charging stations that do not have some relatively high fee to be able to charge. And by that, I mean they're usually in parking garages. So if you decide that you want to rent a Model S, Model X, or another Tesla, or Model 3, you may want to make sure that your hotel has a charging infrastructure. Where we stayed at, we did not have a charger here. I did talk to the management, and they did have a 110 volt outlet that allowed me to charge. That was adding about 5 miles of range. So over 12 hours of us, plus going to the beach, sometimes we wouldn't drive the car for 18 hours, 20 hours. So we were adding all that range back. It's definitely doable, but you want to make sure you have some way to charge, because really there's not a lot of easy places to charge here in Hawaii. Now that we had a full charge, we decided to do, it's basically it's called the Circle Island Loop. It's on the eastern part of the island. There's a big circle you can do. That's kind of the thing you want to do if you come here and you have a car. So we did that. It was very scenic. So then we came and we went to the Polynesian Culture Center. As we were on that drive, they had a charge point charger. So I pulled into the first one. Didn't realize there was two more that were actually higher capacity on the other end of the parking lot. But I went ahead and added that. We had lunch there, looked around a little bit, ice cream, and added about 10 to 15 miles of range. After the Polynesian Culture Center, we drove on up to the North Shore, then down to the Dole Plantation. So the Dole Plantation it's Dole who makes like pineapples and other food kind of like products. So we went to that. They have a train tour. It was literally like something from Back to the Future with the Biff Tannen Museum.
Tannen Museum, dedicated to Hill Valley's #1 citizen and America's greatest
world-class chocolates. We also conduct a free demonstration on how chocolate is produced from...
As we're on the train, the narrator, I think you can sound like the narrator from that movie. So we got to hear all about Dole products. It was something to do. Our 4-year-old enjoyed it. And they did have a EV charger there. There was actually a Jeep Wrangler that was in that parking lot. And as we were pulling in, there was a security guard kicking them out. So they take their parking and their traffic laws pretty serious here in Hawaii. So I pulled in, got out the adapter to use it with the J1772 plug that was with the car. The adapter was, and it was a DC fast charger, and there was no way to get that I could figure out how to get that adapter on there. So we couldn't charge up there. So instead, we pulled into a parking lot. Our 4-year-old was ready for a nap. He'd already fell asleep, even though he was excited about that plantation ride, or that train ride. So we let him sleep for about an hour, and then we went and did the ride, some light shopping there, and then headed back to Waikiki. Overall, the experience with this car is a lot like the i3. I think out of the two cars we have, it does the single pedal driving with the regenerative braking. It charges, at least here, because there's not superchargers, basically the same. Plugging in at night as we got back to where we were staying was the same as if we were at home. The biggest difference is that range, is the fact that you know that if you charge it up and you keep it topped off, you know that if you have a lot of running around you that day, you're going to be able to do it without having to come back and charge or try to find a charger. So that's really the big difference. The overall quality of the car is really nice. The interior, the seats feel nice. There are parts of it that do not feel nice, like the buttons here on the side just feel a little cheap. The touchscreen feels pretty awesome having that here with the nav. The center console also is a little weird. That wood panel up front is really awesome, and that single vent that you can adjust is awesome. So overall, we love the interior of the car. So the thing though is, would we buy this car as our next car? So the Volt is still running strong. It's got the range to do what we need to do. The i3 is still like working like a champ. So right now, really, we're just going to keep those cars and keep driving them until they start kind of wearing down, and then maybe getting a Model 3s in our future. But that's probably, at least, I would say at least 2 years away.